We wanted people who are HIV positive to tell their personal story. I'm Peter Roberts and I work for CCP. Been in Malawi for 3 years, working as a communication advisor on an HIV program there. It was in 1992 and we'd been exposed to HIV in West Africa to a degree, so I was a little more aware of it. There was a young doctor in Vancouver, Dr. Peter Jepson Young. He had HIV and he wanted to talk about what he was going through and how, in very explicit terms, I mean, emotionally, medically. He started going on TV on a regular basis, every week, I think, and he talked all the way up until a week before he died. It was a very powerful documentary, and anybody that I talked to in Canada who had heard that, it really changed their whole perspective on HIV. So working in Africa again in about 10 years after that, I suggested we try the diaries. And we said to the people who are HIV positive, if you want to be anonymous, because this is a very brave move, it's on radio, but it's still, people can recognize your voice probably. And if you want to be anonymous, you can change your name, or we can give you a false name or something, but you have to be true to your story. And every one of them said, no, I'm willing to be who I am. Some of the diarists were also sort of natural storytellers. One of them was a man called Enoch. I don't speak Chichewa, but evidently his use of language was really, really powerful. And for example, he would describe his skull was like a dried corn cob when he wasn't, when he was really, really sick and thin and, losing his energy and everything. A very descriptive, powerful sense. And one of his diaries, he was too sick to carry on at that point. He felt he needed to go back to his community. He had already been on air for a couple of months, I think, at that point. And he was Enoch. I mean, he was using his real name. He decided to take his 2 sons back to Mangochi, a town a couple of 100 kilometers away. And he'd run out of money, tiny bit of money. He had 2 sons with him, and he asked the bus driver, can you let me on the bus? The bus driver said, okay, and so he's traveling back, and he's wondering what's going to happen to him once he gets to Mangochi. He doesn't know if his family will reject him. He doesn't know whether the people will hate him. And when they got there was a huge crowd at the bus stop, and they were sort of, they were there to greet him. They were sort of celebrating. It's Enoch. He's back. And one of them came forward and said, "Look, I'm going to take you to the clinic and pay for your ARVs," because at that point they weren't freely available in the country, and the reason he was coming back from Blantyre was because he hadn't yet been able to get onto ARVs. And one guy said, "No, I'm taking you to the clinic and putting you on ARVs." I mean, that story was very powerful, and it sort of played back to the Jepson diary that I heard in Vancouver, that the same sort of result could come from it working in Africa, and that's why we did it. My story is about the power of ordinary people's personal stories.